This is a video on a complex novel. The novel is The Rainbow. The Rainbow has been written by the English novelist d.h.lawrence. D.h.Lawrence was born in September 1885 and he lived up to 1930. He was an English novelist, poet, playwright, essayist, and painter. And he technically, he belongs to the Victorian period. The Victorian period means the period from 1837 to 1901. This was the period when Queen Victoria was ruling over England. But D.H. Lawrence is not a Victorian novelist. He is considered to be a modernist, a modern novelist. His works represent the dilemma of the Victorian period. This was a period when a rapid industrialization was happening in England and across different countries in Europe. More and more factories and industries, manufacturing units were being built across England. And so this brought about a change in the lives of the people in England. So people were sort of trapped between the old ways and the fast changing modern industrial world. D.H. Lawrence's novels capture this dilemma. They capture this problem of adapting and adjusting to two different worlds, to do different ways of life, to old traditions and new techniques. And most of his novels were banned because they described sexuality very openly and they were considered to be obscene. So, these novels deal with individuals who are trying to find an identity for themselves in a fast changing world, in a rapidly changing world. And his novels have characters, male and female characters, who are trying to find out their identity, who are trying to find out what is their purpose in life, what is their role, and they make use of the amazing possibilities available to them in a modern world. So, the Victorian era was a period of rigid rules and conventional lives, and women did not have voting rights, they did not have independence, and they were not treated as individuals. But with rapid industrialization and the growth of new cities and towns, both lives and ideas were changing. So, The Rainbow is a novel that describes these changes and it also describes the search for individual freedom and contentment by experimenting with various possibilities. So, the themes of the novel, first one, the search for individual identity. The second one, the description of rapid industrialization and the problems that it created in the lives of men and women who lived during this period. And the third theme can be the contentment, the search for contentment by searching for and experimenting with various possibilities. The rainbow had been rewritten and reworked several times. It started out as The Sisters in 1913. That means when it was written in 1913, the name of the novel was The Sisters. Then in 1914, the name was changed to The Wedding Ring. Then in 1915, it was split into two novels. One is The Rainbow, that is prescribed for us, and the other is what would later on become Women in Love. And this novel, The Rainbow, also ran into trouble. It was banned, it was considered to be obscene. And there is a passage in the novel where the pregnant Anna, one of the characters in the novel, pregnant Anna, she is dancing naked in front of the Lord. So such instances were very shocking for the Victorian audience, for the Victorian readers. And so the novel was banned for quite a long period of time. Now, this novel, it talks about three generations of a family. The name of the family is the Brangwen family. And in the third section of the novel, Ursula is the most important character. She is a woman who is far ahead of her times, an avant garde character, and she is a symbol of D.H. Lawrence's belief that the old ways need to change and women must have the freedom to pursue their choices and live their lives as they want to live it. So, when D.H. Lawrence was writing his novels, great changes were happening in England and the world. And industrialization, as I told you earlier, it had an influence on other aspects of human life. It led to the rise of socialism and feminism in England. So, the story of the rainbow begins around 1840 and it goes on up to the first years of the 20th century, that is, up to 1905, from 1840 to 1905, 1840 to 1905. 1840, it's an important year because it marks the beginning of industrial capitalism. And this is the period when the owners of factories and industries they became dominant. They became very powerful. They had the power to bring about changes in rules, in policies. They had the power to induce change in the governmental policies. So this was a period when a lot of canals, mines, and railways were being developed across England. And the development of canals, the development of mines and railways naturally had an influence on the natural landscape of the country. So, when the natural landscape of the country was changed in order to make factories, industries, in order to make manufacturing units, it also brought about a change in the structure of the society. So, nature was gradually erased to make way for new factories and industries. So, the period of the novel is from 1840 when industrial capitalism began and it goes on up to 1905. The novel is set in the relatively poor rural area of Nottinghamshire in England and it deals with the story of three generations of the Brangwens family. The Brangwens, they are farmers and craftsmen who live in Nottinghamshire. Nottinghamshire is in the East Midlands area of England. East Midlands area of England. So the novel is set in Nottinghamshire and it depicts the changes in the lives and romantic experiences of three generations of the Brangwen family. The novel begins with the story of Tom Brangwen. His whole life has been spent in the counties of Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, and he has never left this place. The last section of the novel deals with the life of his granddaughter Ursula, who studies at university and she becomes a teacher in the urbanized, industrialized, capitalist England. The novel begins by talking about the creation of life, the eternal cycle of seasons, and the harmony between human beings and nature. But all this was destroyed when industries and mines came up and man started using natural resources without any sort of control. So, Tom Brangwen is the son of Alfred Brangwen and Mrs. Brangwen. He has several brothers. He goes to school because his mother wants him to be prepared for the new world, but he does not like school. He prefers to work on their farm called Marsh Farm. Soon he takes over the farm, his parents die, and he and his sister Effie are left alone on the farm. Tom is deeply pained after the death of his parents, and another factor that dejects him is his inability to find a wife. So he starts drinking and he drinks heavily and he fights with Effie frequently. Soon, Effie is very tired of him and she leaves him after getting married, and Tom is left alone on Marsh Farm. Marsh Farm is in the beautiful Erwash Valley. The Erwash River runs through this valley. Erwash, Erwash. So the Erwash River runs through this valley, and this particular valley appears in most of D.h. Lawrence's novels. So a canal was constructed across the Marsh Farm property in 1840s, and the Brangwens are given compensation for that construction. That means it was built on their land. So for that they were paid compensation by the government. Soon a colliery, Willingdon Colliery. A colliery is a coal mine, buildings and machines associated with it. Colliery, Colliery. Willingdon Colliery comes up near the canal, and there were a lot of changes in that area. This time also the Brangwens make good money. When the town changes, when the town grows, they also make money from it. Soon Tom Brangwen meets a Polish woman, a woman from Poland. Her name is Lydia Lenski, and she has a daughter, Anna. She is a refugee from Poland. She is a Polish refugee and she is a widow. So Tom and Lydia, they get married, and their relationship, their sexual relationship is also described in detail by D.H. Lawrence in the novel. But it is not an easy marriage because Lydia's Polish nationality and her past make it difficult for them to completely understand each other and live in harmony. Tom is actually much more comfortable with Lydia's daughter, Anna, and they spend a lot of time together. Anna accompanies Tom on his trips into town and they are very comfortable. Later on, Lydia and Tom, they have a son who is called Tom Brangwen Jr. Anna, as she grows up, she meets Will Brangwen. Will Brangwen is Tom's brother's son. So, Will is better educated and he has a much greater exposure to the larger world than Anna, who has spent most of her life at Marsh Farm. So Anna has this belief that there is something exotic about him. She finds him to be different and exciting and she falls in love with him. But their relationship is not encouraged by Tom. Their courtship is also very passionate and they decide to get married. But Tom discourages them because he feels that they are young, and Will does not have a steady income, although he is a skilled wood craftsman. He works on wood, he is a craftsman. But Tom agrees. Anna and Will, they convince him to agree to the marriage, and he agrees, and he also helps them to set up their own home. And their honeymoon is passionate and they are inseparable. But soon differences crop up between them. Will is very religious, and the Bible is very important for him. But Anna does not find religion or the Bible satisfying or comforting. Such passages are sort of difficult, and it is difficult for readers of the Victorian period to absorb and relate to such passages where the man is deeply devoted to God and the woman is not at all devoted to God or interested in the Bible. Anyway, Will and Anna are unhappy in their marriage, but things between them settle down when they have a child, Ursula. And when Will sees Anna, in her role as a mother, his doubts settle down, and there is peace in their marriage. They go on to have 6 children. Time passes, and the world around the Brangwens changes at a very fast pace. The Brangwen men, they adapt to the changes. The Brangwen women, they are not happy with the limited life that they lead on Marsh Farm. They want more, they demand more, they want better opportunities. They are not happy with the life on Marsh Farm. They want to move out, they want to test their wings, they want to check out all the opportunities that are available in this new, fast changing world. They wanted to work, they wanted to study just like the men. So Tom Brangwyn Jr., he goes to London to study engineering and he comes back home at regular intervals. Tom and Lydia's second son, Fred, he is happy with being a farmer with the old ways of life and he stays behind to look after Marsh Farm. One night, Tom Brangwyn is in town drinking at a bar, and when he is on his way back home, he is caught in a storm. He drowns, and his body is found next morning floating in the waters close to home. Lydia is deeply affected by his death. She copes with her loss by telling Ursula stories of her past. Ursula grows up, she goes to school, and afterwards she takes up teaching at Brinsley Street School. Brinsley Street School. She and her friend Maggie Schofield are independent thinkers and they discuss Olive Schreiner's book, Women and Labor, published in 1911. The book talks about the requirement of new types of work for women according to the changing situation. Maggie Schofield is a suffragette and believes in voting rights. Another friend of Ursula, Dorothy Russell, is also a suffragette. Suffragettes are people who fought for voting rights for women. Voting rights for women were not given to them until the beginning of the 20th century, and that was after a very violent and determined struggle by a number of revolutionary women who were force fed, who were subjected to a lot of torture at the hands of the government just because they demanded the right to vote. So, Maggie Schofield is a suffragette, Dorothy Russell is a suffragette. Both are the friends of Ursula Brangwen. Ursula then meets a British soldier of Polish descent, Anton Skrebensky. Anton Skrebensky is a very wealthy man. He is the son of a family friend. They have a passionate love affair, and Anton inspires Ursula to think of a world beyond that of Marsh Farm. But he leaves for South Africa to participate in the Second Boer War, and with that, their affair comes to an end. When he's away, Ursula doesn't think of him or care for him. So she finishes her school and she has a brief lesbian affair with her teacher, Winifred Inger. Winifred teaches Ursula to think that there are ways to think beyond life as she knows it. So when her affair with Winifred is over, she completely removes all memories, all thoughts of the relationship from her conscious memory. Ursula's relationship with Winifred inspires her to take up teaching. So she wants to go away to London to teach, but Will, her father, refuses to give her permission. That is why she takes up a job at a local school. And the students in this school, they are very unruly. They do not respect her because of her female gender. And the principal, Mr. Harby, he advises her to physically discipline the children, but she is very uncomfortable about it, about beating up the children. But eventually, she has to do that in order to control her class. So, the local school that she teaches at, I told you earlier, the name of the school is Brinsley Street School. And it is at Brinsley Street School that she meets her suffragette friend Maggie Schofield. Maggie is politically active and she inspires Ursula to join the suffragette movement. After some years, Ursula decides to go to London for higher studies. When she arrives in London, she becomes involved in politics and she also meets Anton Skrebensky once again. Once again, they have a passionate affair. They travel together most of the time. But when he asks her to marry him, she is unwilling to do so. She is still trying to find out what she wants from life, and she does not like the idea of a man controlling her life, her choices, and her individuality. So Anton is deeply hurt by her rejection, and as a sort of rebound, he goes and gets married to someone else. But after Anton's departure, Ursula wonders if she has made a mistake and she writes to him again, accepting his offer of marriage. But he responds that he has already married someone else. She also believes that she is pregnant, and that is what makes her write to Anton. But later on, she realizes that she is not pregnant, and she comes to the conclusion that she would prefer to be alone. So when she gets Anton's telegram and she steps out, she sees a rainbow stretching across the sky. And that rainbow inspires her in her quest for individual fulfillment. So as she progresses through life, she moves away from all her women friends. This is because she sees their feminism as something that is deeply connected to industrial capitalism. When a society has new industries coming up, it gives rise to towns and living settlements. These places develop their own culture and they also need their own larger workforce. This workforce needs to be an educated workforce. So, this led to educational reforms. And women started demanding their right to education, their right to vote, and their right to have better opportunities. So the novel begins in 1840, and in 1841, the first female suffragette movement began. The novel ends in 1905, and in 1904, the English Parliament rejected the suffrage bill that would grant voting rights to women. So, D.H. Lawrence was deeply influenced by Nietzsche, and Nietzsche believed in the concept of the individual soul being a unique entity. And this is evident in his creation of the character of Ursula, who gave up marriage and also feminism in order to get involved in her own unique quest for her individual identity. So, with that, I come to the end of my explanation of The Rainbow by D.H. Lawrence. Thank you and all the best.